Thank you for allowing me to speak here today. And I just want to say, after listening to all of the speakers that we've heard today, that I just feel, I've heard these stories before, but I just feel absolutely sickened by what is going on in this country, with and the way people are abused in such disgraceful ways by the state. And I'll go on now to talk just a little bit about my brother's case. My brother was axed to death in the car park of a pub in Sydenham in 1987, and I've been dealing with this saga for nearly 30 years now. And currently the issue is being examined by a panel of inquiry appointed by the Home Secretary. But I just want to, I suppose, talk about surveillance. Because in 1998, 11 years after my brother was murdered, and after two inquiries had taken place, two corrupt inquiries had taken place into Daniel's murder, a man whom I believed had been fitted up, or whom I believe the police had attempted to fit up for Daniel's murder, won a court case in Winchester. He won some damages and an apology, etc., from Hampshire police, who had carried out an outside inquiry into the case. After that, this marked a turning point in our campaign, because after that, I was interviewed by a journalist from The Guardian, and in my interview I said the police haven't heard the last of this. I then returned to Glasgow, where I was living with my partner for a year as she was doing a course up in Glasgow. And a couple of weeks after this incident, after this court case, I was walking home. I'd been out shopping, and I'd come home, and I was about to cook some supper for my partner and myself, and I saw two men standing on a street corner, smartly dressed men, standing on a street corner, and they just looked so out of place. I thought, they were just loitering, men in smart suits loitering on a street corner. I didn't think much of it at that point. I went in, cooked supper, and then the next day, again, I was coming, I'd been down in the, I'd been out in the street shopping or about some kind of business. I was coming home again, and again there were two men loitering on a street corner. And I remember I went in and I thought, no, there's something going on here. So I rang my mother, who lived in Wales, and I said, because we'd been campaigning, we'd had meetings with senior police officers over my brother's murder, and we'd been campaigning vigorously for 12 years over the case. And I rang my mother, and she said to me, oh, that's funny, Alastair, she said. I was coming home last night, taking my dog out for a walk, and I was putting a key in the door, and behind me I heard click, 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 click. And she turned around, and a woman was photographing her. A car parked on the curb outside her house. A woman was taking pictures of her, boom, 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 like that. And she said nothing. The woman said nothing, got into the car, which was driven away at speed by a man, a smart saloon car. My mother then rang my sister to tell her about this. And my sister was living in Germany at the time. She was married to an army officer and was living in Germany. And she said, oh, that's funny, Mum. Yesterday I was driving to my, local supermarket, and I was she lived out in the country. She drove down the road, and she said there was a car parked in the most odd place, nothing else around, or a little van parked in the most bizarre place. And she said there were like coat hangers. The driver's clothing was on coat hangers hanging on the outside of the van. So she slowed down. She thought, this is extraordinary. Slowed down. And there, as she drove past, there's a guy lying in the ditch with camera with a telephoto lens pointing in the direction of our house. And anyway, when I heard this, I thought, God, there's something really funny going on here. And I was frightened. I was frightened for our safety because I have absolutely no doubt that there was police involvement in the planning of my brother's murder, and that my brother had been murdered because he was about, or that he was taking steps to expose very serious police corruption, probably at very senior level in the Metropolitan Police. And I was extremely worried. I remember saying to my partner, Kirstine, who's sitting up there, I said, we've got to get out of here. I'm worried for our safety. I was ringing the German police, ringing the police in Wales. I was worried about my mother. I then got in the car and we drove to a hotel and stayed in Helensburgh, about 20 miles away from where we were living. But that's what happened to us. Now, that was only part of a very, very long saga that's been going on with my brother's murder. And as I say, it's currently being scrutinized by a panel of inquiry, like along the lines of the Hillsborough panel. And there have been a number of hiccups on that inquiry as well, but we are still in there, we're persevering, and I just hope that we can do something, and this panel can do something about these awful abuses that we've been hearing about today. And these are only a few among many. The people sitting here, we're only a few among many. This has been going on a very, routinely in this country for decades, or for ever, since God was a boy. And it's time it stopped. It's time it stopped. And anyway, I'm very, very proud to have been asked to speak here, and I'm proud of all these people here who are fighting against this. And I think I'll leave it there now. Thank you.